Hello everybody. Welcome to today where we celebrate the Sunday of the second week of Lenten season. And so, to start off today's reflection, let us imagine ourselves going to hike at the mountain. And so when we go up into the mountain, notice that we have to put a lot of our efforts into actually being able to climb ourselves back up one level after another. And when we go to hike at the mountain, notice that we have to consistently keep ourselves holding on to the rocks so that way we don't end up falling from when we continue to hike up the mountain. And when we look back down, we notice that there is fear, there is danger that continues to arise when in the higher we go towards the mountain. And so, what do we as Catholic human beings classify as? Do we classify as the one who keeps climbing back up without looking back down? Or do we classify as the person who climbs up but yet looks back at the past times to the extent that we fear that we're going to fall into the same trap again? And so today, in the Holy Gospel, Jesus wants to remind each and every one of us here about the fact that we should strive to not fear the Lord. We should continue to really place our trust in the Lord, knowing that the Lord is going to be there for each and every one of us here. And when we continue to place our trust in the Lord, one of the important aspects that we really need to take into consideration is distinguishing between our own humanistic acts and the ways to which the Lord continues to teach each and every one of us here. And so today's gospel, Jesus took Peter, James, and John up into the mountain where he was going to be transfigured. And transfiguration is where Jesus actually reveals himself to them, just like how he reveals himself to each and every one of us here. Now, Jesus continues to bring each and every one of us here closer to him. And so when we enter into the church, notice, what do we actually see the moment that we step foot into the church? And the first thing that we should notice is Jesus, who hung himself on the cross. Because there were many people who crucified Jesus, wanting to put Jesus to death. And so Jesus had to take the sacrifice for each and every one of us here. And so really Jesus introduces himself to each and every one of us as an indication that all of us can seek to be saved through him. And so today, Jesus continues to remind each and every one of us about the fact that we should continue to draw ourselves closer to him. But what other lesson can we learn? Notice that after Peter sees Jesus, his first response was, let us make 3 tents. One for Jesus, one for Elijah, and one for the other prophets. But it clearly indicates that Peter does not know what he was saying. And so what does this remind each and every one of us? do we know what we are talking about when we come to proclaim the word to others? In fact, the bigger question to which it is established for each and every one of us here is, do we actually understand what Jesus is speaking to each and every one of us? What message did Jesus want to communicate to us? And it is not to our own interpretation to which we are able to really derive clear of what Jesus is actually saying to each and every one of us here. But he wants each and every one of us to really, really pay a close attention to the words to which Jesus is speaking to each and every one of us, so that all of us here are able to unite ourselves with him. And so to be able to fully listen to Jesus, which is the biggest message from the Holy Gospel for today, we must first set aside some time so that we can actually hear the voice of Jesus. And when we continue to listen to the voice of Jesus, we should not have a hard heart. We shouldn't be placing our own thoughts, our own interpretations as to what Jesus is really saying to each and every one of us. Because that right there can really distract us away from being able to truly understand and comprehend what Jesus is speaking to each and every one of us here. But instead, each and every one of us here are called to really pay close attention to him. And if there are any thoughts, we should continue to offer that up to Jesus. That right there is how each and every one of us should strive to continue to listen to him, so that Jesus can give each and every one of us a clear path and a clear indication as to how we can continue to live forth our journey of faith. And then, when we continue to listen to Jesus, we should strive to not approach listening to Jesus with fear, with being afraid to the extent that we really don't want to move forward in our life. Just like how when we continue to hike in the mountains, we do not continue to look up, but yet we always tend to look down at our failures. And so Jesus continues to give each and every one of us here a clear indication to really lift up our faith, so that we can continue to climb this mountain as we continue to reach to this final destination. And so Jesus continues to remind each and every one of us here the importance of keeping up with our faith, so that we can enable ourselves to really understand what message Jesus is speaking to each and every one of us. Because it's not that Jesus is continuing to be hard with each and every one of us. It's the fact that he loves all of us to the extent that he really pushes and encourages each and every one of us here to go and follow him. And so I challenge each and every one of you guys today, as we continue throughout this second Sunday of Lent, to go and listen to the voice to which Jesus is speaking to each and every one of us. Because there is one clear message and indication that Jesus strives to continue to bring forth to each and every one of us here, so that all of us may have our faith be strengthened as we continue to prepare for the next kingdom, for there is to come. And so all of us should strive to continue to pray about it, so that we can continue to open ourselves up so that God can continue to transform each and every one of us here.